Hi, I'm Carl Mason from resistanceradio.tv and Liberty Defenders. Saturday I was in Worcester, that's where I live, and I went along to the EDL march, a campaign against the new mosque we're having built. I think that's 4 we got in Worcester now, along with lots of Islamic schools. It was quite interesting in the fact that on the EDL side you used to have the guy wearing the Star of David around his neck, and opposite in the protesters there was a guy who had a placard saying never again, and it had a pink triangle on it, and that represents the cloth badge that the Nazis used to make homosexuals wear, allegedly in the concentration camps. So you had 2 Jewish people opposing one another, one in the EDL and one in the left wing, if you like, counter-protesters. Also in the left wing counter-protesters, standing near the Jewish guy, was a guy with a Palestinian flag wrapped around his neck. So you had the interesting scenario of 2 Jewish people arguing against one another or opposing one another, and stood next door to them was the Palestinian, who they both oppose, fight and attack in their wars in the Middle East. They really are mental in the head. I got talking to this Jewish guy who was from Birmingham. He's an old boy. He came out with the usual spiel about how all his family had died in the war, and he had this placard with never again on it. And I got talking to him. I didn't tell him who I was, and he came out with the fact that we need more immigration because Britain's too white, and he actually supported the mosque and the Islamification of Britain. And I also asked him the question, well, why would you want that? And he said, well, if you mix all the races up, they won't be anti-Semitic and won't carry out war crimes or extermination policies. So when I asked him about what ISIS did to homosexuals in the Middle East, like throwing them off high-rise buildings, he said that's only an isolated case. So I said to him, well, if the population of Europe and Britain changes and becomes more Islamic, and they bring in more laws, and they start throwing homosexuals off multi-storey car parks in Worcester, who's going to defend him? He actually stood there for a minute and thought about it, didn't actually say anything. He was actually supporting people who are going to throw him off a multi-storey car park. So it must be some sort of mental illness that the left have, and they can't work out why nationalism is on the rise across Europe. Probably because nationalism is on the rise because we want to defend and keep the traditional values that we had of not promoting the gay agenda to children in school. We don't want Sharia law, halal meat, but it seems as if the left think that they've got the right to force this onto people against their will. And if you oppose them, then you're a Nazi or a racist. No such thing. I noticed Worcester's Muslim community didn't go to the Gay Pride event, also held in Worcester, yet they stand there with placards saying they're the religion of love and tolerance, and here they are openly promoting and accepting and endorsing the murder of homosexuals. So it's quite a strange situation of seeing 2 Jewish groups opposing one another and supported by a Palestinian. And this old Jewish guy said we need more immigration into Britain and Western Europe because it's too white, and we need to be more diverse and culturally enriched. But when I asked him about open borders for Israel, he then waved his placard, made some excuse, and went off and walked and stood over by the Muslim mayor of Worcester. So then you have the Muslim mayor of Worcester supporting a Jewish person who wants to promote the homosexual agenda in schools. So the left, with the Zionist backing, really are mental in the head. I also asked him why no British Jewish MP spoke out against immigration into Britain. Again, no answer, no reply, nothing. It's strange that all Britain's Jewish MPs have never spoken out against Islamic immigration to the West. In fact, they all endorse it. Name one Jewish MP who has stood up and said, this has got to stop, this is wrong. If you said there should be open borders for Israel and let a load of Muslims go to Israel, God, there'll be eruptions, you'd be arrested, you'd be called an anti-Semite. The same thing that happened to Jeremy Corbyn. And what it all is British politics is being used for the Zionist cause to promote conflict between infidels and non-infidels. Because all it is for conflict to help Israel. That's all it is. So people who wave the Israeli flag at EDL meetings, why are there Jewish people supporting Islamic immigration into the West? I think we're being used, don't you?